Stay tuned for the next guest.
Dear viewers, welcome back from this report, and we have been joined by our first guest for this evening, Mr. Hamza Taqi, the Master Performance Consultant. Good evening and welcome back to Al Kuwait.
Good evening and thank you for having me again. I am very excited to be with you tonight.
We're very excited to have you back with us, of course, after your amazing summer break. So Hamza, this evening we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs. What is it?
Oh, limiting belief is basically any thoughts or beliefs that are ingrained in our mind. And they create some sort of obstacles for us to achieve our fullest potential and achieve our goals and success.
And how do they usually impact our lives? Is it usually, as you mentioned, or is there more to it?
Well, they basically don't let us achieve what we desire. They don't let us go for our passion, for our dreams, for our goals, because they are like a protection mechanism. They want to protect you from, for example, failure or from making maybe a fool of yourself in certain occasions. So you don't try. In a way, you miss a lot of opportunities.
That's right. So for example, if I get a really good opportunity for my career, to advance in my career, I would actually not go for it because I think, what if this happens? So it's basically just looking into the future a bit too much.
Yes, exactly. And it's based on old experiences that we had.
Right.
And then we are like, for example, if you had started a partnership in a business with someone, and that someone became, for example, not an honest person.
Yes.
Then that becomes a limiting belief that, you know, people are not trusted. So you will not trust anybody, and you will not go into any partnership, and you'll be solo. And you know, usually you need people to thrive.
Yes, definitely. That's absolutely true. There's a lot of people, as you said, they do face some difficulties in any situation and then refuse to take another chance, especially when it comes to business and even relationships and family.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So now that we know what limiting beliefs is, how can an individual really identify their own limiting beliefs?
There are some, you know, self-awareness or self-perspectiveness. You know, like when you are watching your thoughts, or sometimes you ask yourself this question: what are the thoughts that are stopping me from achieving my fullest potential, or what are the challenges that are, or the thoughts again, or beliefs that are not letting me progress. And then you can identify those thoughts and become conscious about them, because they are ingrained in us in the subconscious. And we know that thoughts and energy fueled by the belief creates our life.
Of course.
So what beliefs that fuels your emotions and energy, if it's negative, then you will behave in a negative way. You get, of course, a negative outcome. So yeah, this is in a way how you identify your limiting beliefs. Just being present and watching the thoughts, because, you know, we think, like maybe we said in another interview, we think up to 60,000 thoughts per day. Yeah, and most of it are 90%, according to research, is repetitive and repeated from all days, and negative. So these takes you into, you know, you want to identify what are the thoughts that you have, and if you have some thoughts that are limiting you from achieving certain goals, you want to address it.
Definitely. Working on this emotional baggage, we can say, could really help us advance sometimes.
It's a programming.
For sure. And you also gave us this example about businesses, which we both agreed on, and maybe not taking another chance. But what are other common examples of limiting beliefs that usually individuals go through?
Well, there is the fact that, you know, the quote that says, I am not enough. You know, and it could be like, I'm not enough for the business, I'm not enough for the interview, I'm not good enough for relationships.
Right.
So this kind of, you know, self-talk or narratives that we put on ourselves creates that you know, behavior that we are not enough, we are not good enough, or we are not smart enough.
Right.
So it limits us from exploring or even discussing things or even speaking our voice because maybe in our childhood our parents told us, no, you're not supposed to talk like this, or
Exactly.
you are not supposed to say that in front of everybody. So you start, this becomes in your subconscious, and then you will not talk. And sometimes, you know, talking is good. It's save you from certain situation. You talk out loud your feelings, your emotions. So this becomes like, you know, it's built in from childhood, from the age 0 to 7. This is when our brain is basically taking stuff and recording from the environment, from our parents, from our siblings, from the school, from the workplace, wherever we are. Well, there is no workplace when we are a child, but at home, you know, and this, you see people acting, and that's it. You take it because you don't know anything else.
That's right.
You think, you believe that this is the right thing, and that's what most of us, 95% of our life is based on.
That's
our
right.
first 7 years.
I know not to do certain things while I'm at the dinner table because my parents told me so when I was around that age you mentioned,
Exactly.
0 to 7.
And we I don't want to, you know, like blame the parents. The parents had good intention.
Of course.
They are there to protect us. So they told us certain things. For example, I don't know, like don't touch the fire, it will burn
Don't
you.
open anyone's fridge when you go to their home. That's a big one. I'll never forget that one.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, you don't want to open, as I guess, you don't want to open.
Exactly, that would be really awkward.
Yes, exactly. But in the same manner, there are other things that they've told us for our protection back then as children.
Of course.
But then as adult, we need to look at these things again and maybe
Reevaluate.
Reevaluate and refresh them, because some of them are no longer valid for us.
That's right.
Or will not help us because they were for a child, for example.
Exactly. So we do evolve, and maybe our actions need to
Don't
evolve
talk to
with
strangers.
us.
I just remember, sorry.
Yes.
Don't talk to strangers. But when you are adult, you ought to speak to strangers.
That's the only way you can go on with life.
Exactly.
If you're
I mean,
talking
at work, you have strangers, people. If it's your first day, if your first month, you see stranger, you're not going to talk with them. This is, you know, kind of the limiting beliefs.
Yes, I think that's a really, really, really great example because, as you said, when we were children, we had to live by that rule, not talking to strangers. But that completely changed when we're adults because that's how we're networking, communicating, and advancing in our life and career. So I think with all the examples you mentioned, I feel like there was fear. Somewhere in the background. So what do you think, how does fear basically play a role when it comes to reinforcing limiting beliefs?
Fear is a strong emotion. It's really strong emotion, and it limits us from doing a lot of things. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of being ridiculed by people, fear of and fear is major in limiting beliefs. For example, I'm the person in front of you. When I was maybe 7 or 6, maybe 8. Okay, I was like trying to write poems. So I had a little notebook, so I wrote poem, and you know, they teach us in school Arabic and the poems and stuff and big poetry, and so I started writing, you know, some stuff. And I have my elder brother. He is my idol. He's the artist. He draws very well, and he's my idol. Like, so I went to him and I said, check out my poem. He looked at them and he started reading, and he said, this is nothing. This is not a poem.
Which is very typical of a sibling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that really hindered my success in terms of,
Definitely.
for example, writing a book. Now, I have a fear inside me. I have 3 books inside me.
You have 3 books.
2 English and 1 Arabic. And I haven't published them because I'm afraid that they will not be published. Or if they are published, nobody is going to care about them.
Right.
So that fear inside me is stopping me from progressing and sharing my wisdom, maybe. Now, to compensate for that, I must learn that, you know, not every writer or author is able to, you know, publish. Or they try, and they write to become a good writer. So what I have to do is write and publish until I write the proper book.
Definitely,
Yes.
because it's trial and error for sure. And I think maybe this fear
Perseverance.
was instilled in you since you were a child, but
Yes.
things are different now. You
Absolutely.
have excellent communication and written skills too, which means, and you have enough knowledge
Exactly.
to be able to publish these books. But there's
True.
something in the back reminding
Yes.
you.
And that's the belief. You know you're capable, but the belief is pulling you and telling you, no, don't go there.
Don't do it. Definitely. So I think that brings us to how individuals can actually overcome their limiting beliefs and even cultivate more positive thoughts.
Yeah. Basically, what we need to do is watch out for the internal dialogue. What are we telling ourselves? And for example, there are people that they say, I will never get healthy, or I will never stop being angry. I'm always angry. Or somebody who's always complaining. I said, no, this is me. Since I was young, I was always complaining. I was looking at the negative side. So I can't be positive. And that's really sad, because, you know, you once you are, you know, watching your internal dialogue and investigating,
Yes.
analyzing those thoughts, and you say from where they come, and you'll find out somewhere in your childhood, and that's what, you know, CTP do, the therapy, the
That's
cognitive therapy, cognitive therapy. They do this by looking at your life and they ask you about childhood and stuff, so they know there is any trauma or something that happened that is, you know, stopping from. So being like alert, being present, practicing mindfulness, that will make you see those beliefs that are and addressing them. See, once you are conscious about your
Yes.
beliefs, the limiting beliefs, then only then you can address them and you can find ways to overcome them. And it's like, you know, when you have phobia
That's
from
right.
height, I tell people, go to, you know, skydiving, you know, because this is, you have to do the opposite of that fear to become.
That's
Yes.
right. Sometimes we need to be in that situation, even if we don't want to be able to overcome it.
My friend, Dr. James Smith always say, jump, just jump,
Just jump.
just jump. Yeah.
It sounds really simple, but there's way more to it.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
So you always come to us with amazing stories, especially success stories. So do you have any stories for us this evening about individuals that have actually overcome their fears and their limiting beliefs?
When I publish my first book, I'll be the first success story, hopefully. No.
Hopefully. I'll be waiting on that.
There are a lot of stories in history and whether internationally or in Kuwait, everywhere. But the famous one is Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
Oprah Winfrey, in her childhood, she had limited beliefs. Like, you know, she had gone through poverty, through, you know, dysfunctional family and so.
Yes.
Yet she is now you know, she's teaching people how to live life with
Exactly.
abundance. The other lady, J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling, she was living in an apartment full of rats, and she was really poor, and she got rejected so many times for Harry Potter. And who doesn't know Harry Potter?
Everyone.
Now is everywhere, internationally recognized name. Someone like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he's a basketball player. He's one of the...
He is the basketball player, the one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he has a brand. He has a personal brand, Jordan.
That's right.
For himself. Now, Michael Jordan was kicked out from the basketball team in high school. So he was rejected. But then, you know, sometimes those rejections, they can inspire you if you're aware of them and you say, no, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Exactly.
And that's what he did. Similarly, the famous Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, I mean, he embraced failure.
Right.
Back then, nobody thinks that failure is good. No, failure is good. Failure teaches you
Definitely.
something to progress and grow.
Back in the day, failure meant it was over for you.
Yeah.
And I think that really does teach us to always trust ourselves and not limit ourselves or our beliefs.
Exactly.
Hamza, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
with us this evening.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Dear viewers, we had with us Hamza Taqi, the Master Performance Consultant. And up next, we have a report on habits of successful people.
I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my interview. Please subscribe and share.